Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I recap live trials while I do a little crafting. And the idea is for you as well to have something to listen to while you're crafting. I'm working on a diamond painting, but I also do crochet, cross stitch, watercolor. Those are the main crafts that I do, but I'll dabble in anything, and I'll try anything once. Yes, I know, that's what she said. We are covering the case of Lori Vallow Daybell currently. So, as we speak, I've been checking to see if there's a verdict. They just resumed deliberations a few minutes ago. Literally, I'm 10 a.m. Central Time recording this. They are 9 a.m. 1 hour behind me. And so the jury just resumed deliberations at 9 a.m. So I'm going to go over the closing arguments. I don't know if you'll get a chance to hear them before the verdict comes in. We'll wait and see. They deliberated last night, the jury did, until about 8:30 my time, 7:30 their time. That's when they decided, okay, we're going to go home. They had pizza. The judge ordered, the court ordered them some pizza. They ate their pizza. They resumed deliberations, not for terribly long after they had their pizza. And then they went home for the evening. Now, this weekend is Mother's Day, so I don't anticipate that they're going to deliberate over the weekend. But one never knows. But how? I don't know. I don't know what the word would be to describe, a judgment of conviction on all these charges the day after Mother's Day. The charged with killing your children. Yeah. Anyway, so first thing I want to do, I want to check the community page. We're going to see what the charges are and how people feel about the charges. Let's go to the community page. Okay, number one, first charge. She's got 6 charges. Is Lori not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan? Is Lori not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan? So there's the conspiracy and the murder charge for Tylee. Same thing for JJ, conspiracy and a murder charge for JJ. So that's 3 and 4. Number 5, is Lori not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell? And then number 6, is Lori guilty or not guilty of grand theft? Now, grand theft is the stealing of over $1,000. She is said to have stolen multiple thousands of dollars from the Social Security Administration by filing false claims. Well, not false claims, but continuing to collect Social Security money on behalf of JJ, who was getting it due to the death of his father, Charles Vallow, and Tylee, who was receiving Social Security due to the death of her father, James Ryan. I wonder if they'll ever figure out if she had anything to do with James Ryan's death. That's a detail for another day. So first things first, the judge addressed the motion for judgment of acquittal, which I talked about the other day in one of my videos. Judgment of acquittal is sort of a routine motion that the defense makes at the close of the prosecution's case. And this is pretty much standard across the board, all states. It's sometimes called something different, but it's asking the court to find your client not guilty because you don't believe the evidence presented by the prosecution is sufficient to sustain a not guilty verdict, or to sustain a guilty verdict. I want to say it that way. So the judge has heard the argument and he said he would reserve ruling. So he thought about it overnight, and this morning, or yesterday morning, before the closing statements and the jury instructions were read, he came back and he read through some of the evidence, and he said, this trial's been going on for weeks. The state has provided sufficient evidence to back up each of these charges. So motion denied. All the charges are going forward to the jury. So Rob Wood presented the closing arguments for the state, and he he rarely mentions religion, which I think is a good way to go here. He stayed with that theme, money, power, sex. That's the theme that we heard for the opening statement. And he's not wrong. He starts out by saying October 18th, the October of 2018. I said October 18th because that's my son's birthday. October 2018, Lori and Chad Daybell set in motion a series of events that didn't end for another year and 1 month. He showed photos of the children. The prosecution showed photos of both the children. Now, I don't know if the autopsy photos were showed. I think they were, because he goes on to describe the condition of the bodies when they were found and how Lori kept collecting the money even though her children were missing. This is the thing that bothered me about this whole case. She's still collecting the money. She never reports them missing. And while the entire country is looking for J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan, her beautiful children, she is sunning herself by a pool at a resort in Hawaii with her new husband, not giving a care in the world to where her children are. Now, I gotta tell you, if you are the loving mother that the defense wants to paint this woman, why in the hell aren't you looking for your missing children? Where are your children? Oh, they're safe. They're safe. Which is something we heard in multiple jail phone calls. You'll understand someday. Okay, let's keep going through the opening statement. First, I need a cup of coffee. Hey, by the way, you guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Each and every one of you, I hope you get some value out of the content that I do present. When there's not a live trial going on, I usually do a true crime story or two. And during my lives, I show off some of my crafts. You'll see some of them behind me, and I'll be working on different ones from time to time. All right, back to the closing arguments. Okay, so they talk about, Rob Wood talks about Tammy being asphyxiated in her own home, how she's the loving mother of these 5 children. Many of them, I think they're all grown, these children. And I've had questions like, where are they supporting their father? I think they are supporting their father through this. Yeah, who knew? And how Rob talks about how Lori is conveniently out of town, both during the time that Tammy is shot at and then 9 days later when she is murdered in her home. She's asphyxiated. Lori's off in Hawaii. Oh, it's Friday. I didn't do the Friday dance. Okay. On Fridays, I do a Friday dance. We're going to make it a hula dance this week. Oh, 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 oh. I don't do real music because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Okay. That's all you get on Fridays. All right. So Rob Wood talks about the religious beliefs that they were being used to justify murder, and that they were also being used to manipulate other people. So he goes over the timeline of all the events, and he ties in these text messages of Alex and his computer searches, and what he says is, what is the common thread throughout these timelines? It's Lori. Lori is the common thread for all of these events. Nobody else's children were dead in Chad's backyard. Lori's children were. So the defense, I think, against Lori's wishes. One of the other big questions that I've had in this case is, why no defense? Why did they not put on a defense? The only possible defense that they could have put on in this case was that Lori is batshit crazy. Lori wouldn't let them. You have to have the consent of your client for whatever defense it is you're going to make. Well, her attorney, Jim Archibald, goes into his defense argument, his closing argument. I don't think he had the consent of his client to say some of the things that he said, because she was getting kind of pissed off. According to observers in the courtroom, she was mad about what he was saying. So and I suspect all along she has told him there will be no mention of mental health. She would not let them, first of all, she wouldn't let them continue the trial, which they perfectly had the right to do, which is what Chad did. She refused to give up her right to a speedy trial. Then she's telling them, no, we're not going to talk about mental illness. I am not pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. I think she really vehemently still believes all this hoo-ha. So I believe she has also instructed her attorneys not to throw Chad and Alex under the bus. But on closing, he did. Archibald threw the Chad under the bus, backed it up, and then went forward again. So he points out why would Lori leave Charles Vallow, who made $400 to $500K a year or a month? I don't know. He was rich. Why would she leave him for Chad, who was this? And I'm not making this next statement up. This was what Archibald said verbatim. Who can't sell enough stupid books to support himself, and Tammy, his wife, has to support him. Why would Lori? I don't know. So, and here's probably why. She's having a little bit of a hard time in her marriage to Charles, and along comes this charming guy. I would say handsome, but not so much. No, more like the Pillsbury Doughboy. Here comes the Pillsbury Doughboy, and he says, oh my God, you're a goddess, and we were married in prior lives. And she's like, oh, really? So Archibald says, yeah, these were pickup lines, the greatest pickup lines. I don't know. If somebody came up to me and told me I was a goddess, I'd say, you're full of shit. I am not a goddess. Yeah. Moving on. Archibald said this was just goofy stuff. He talks about how she's a loving mother and a deeply religious person, and that a deeply religious person wouldn't murder her children. Okay. He also brought out some points, and I mean good points, but how she hired a babysitter for JJ, and she enrolled him in school when they moved to Rexburg, Idaho. Why would she do those things if the plan was to kill her son? I don't know. Because she's a nut? I don't know. Then he talks about Alex being a 16-year-old boy stuck in an adult body by reason of an accident. Now, I don't know what he's talking about there. He talks about how there were over 15,000 texts coming into this case, and you won't find in any of those texts Lori saying, hey, are we going to kill the kids tonight? Hey, what's the plan to kill Tammy? He said, you're not going to hear any of that in all of those texts. So like I said, Lori was not happy. So there was one thing he said that I was rolling on the floor. Oh my God, I wrote it down verbatim because I said, if I was in that courtroom, I would have burst out laughing. Like, the judge would have thrown me out of the courtroom because I would have laughed so hard. Now, when I say this, if you get this reference, let me know in the comments if you got this reference. My sister didn't get it when I read it, but here's what he said. He talks about how Lori was a follower of Chad, and Chad was not following Jesus. Chad was following the storm. He was being led by the storm, not the first guy to be led by the storm. I laughed so hard when he said that. Oh my God. So if you didn't get the reference, I talked about how Chad and Lori referred to Chad's penis as the storm. Not the first guy to be led by the storm. Okay. That was brilliant. Okay, so Rob Woods gets up on rebuttal after lunch and talks about how whenever Lori wants something, she finds a way to get it. It doesn't matter. Money, sex, power, whatever it is she wants, she finds a way to get it. And again, what's the common denominator in all of these events? Lori. So the other thing is he pointed out all of the lies that Lori was telling about these kids. Oh, JJ's up with Melanie Gibb. JJ's with Kay. Tylee's at BYU. Innocent people don't lie. Yeah, think about that. Why is she lying? What are you hiding? Okay. Maybe by the time you listen to this, you'll know, because she's guilty of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Okay. Don't forget to leave me a comment. We're going to wrap up the crime calendar now. All week long, we have been talking about the murder of Rebecca Witt. Her and her friend, her lesbian girlfriend, Claudia Brenner, had gone hiking in the Appalachian Mountains, and they ran into this guy named Stephen Carr. They thought they were out there in the middle of nowhere. They're walking around naked, skinny dipping, and they see him. So they pack up and they go to somewhere else where they think is very remote. They go hiking, they have a nice dinner, they're starting to have sex that night because they think they're alone, And Stephen Carr is 80 feet away from them, opens fire, shoots them both. Claudia is injured, but manages, when she leaves, Rebecca's still alive, she just can't walk. So Claudia leaves her, walks 3 miles to get help, is hospitalized. Someone, she got help. The help goes to get Rebecca. They find her deceased. So we talked about how Stephen Carr hid out in a Mennonite community where they don't watch TV. So he thought he could just sit there forever. He was there like 9 or 10 days before someone who secretly watched TV recognized him, and he was arrested and picked up. So his defense attorney is using, what did he call it? Oh my gosh, I'd never even heard of it. He called it the gay panic defense, claiming Carr became inexplicably enraged when the women teased, taunted, and provoked him by walking around nude and being intimate while they thought they were completely alone. Okay. Let's wrap this up. The outcome: in an unexpectedly progressive decision for a magistrate in a rural conservative district, Judge Oscar Spicer, who presided over Carr's case, ruled that Wright's and Brenner's sexual orientation was inadmissible. Yay! No, we're talking back like late 80s here. So he also disallowed evidence referencing Carr's own sexual trauma. Without these defenses, Carr took a plea deal to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. In 1991, Carr filed an appeal on the grounds that his history of sexual trauma should have been admissible, but he was denied. In 1999, a book about the crime, Carr claimed that while he was feeling resentment toward the women that day for parading around, the shooting was an accident that occurred when a deer he was hunting ran in front of the women. But he didn't think about that defense years before. Okay. Brenner's firsthand account of the shooting Witt's death and her healing. 8 Bullets, One Woman's Story of Surviving Anti-Gay Violence, was published in 1995. I hope the heck that man didn't make any money off of his book. So, but there is a book out there by the survivor, One Woman's Story of Surviving Anti-Gay Violence. Oh, my God. So here's a quote. Here's a quote from Claudia Brenner. I never thought that you could be killed for being gay. I knew about taunts and harassment, and that's what I thought of when someone said anti-gay. I never thought it happened to women. I never thought it was a matter of life and death. If it is all right to tell jokes about gays, if it is all right to yell slurs at us on the street, at some point it becomes all right for the Stephen Roy Carrs of the world to hunt us down and shoot us. Yeah. Very sad story. Okay, guys, I'll be on Verdict Watch today. You will see a thumbnail posted. I will keep moving the time on that thumbnail. I am watching. The judge is going to give us 1 hour. They're going to announce that the jury has reached a verdict, and then the verdict will not be announced for 1 hour. That gives people time to get into the courtroom. Larry and Kay have to get up from their nap at the hotel and come to the courtroom. Apparently Larry Woodcock, those are the grandparents of J.J. Vallow. Larry Woodcock came to the court yesterday playing on his iPad, We Will Rock You, when he walked into the courtroom. Now, the jury wasn't in there, but he said that it was JJ's favorite song. And then he was passing around a bowl of candy. So in an incredibly good mood, knowing that this is coming to a conclusion. For now, like I said, Lori is facing the charges of conspiracy to commit the murder of Charles Vallow in Arizona. So she's not done, guys. This, by no means is she done. Even if she was acquitted, God forbid, of all these charges, she could not walk out of jail. She still has charges pending in another state. Yeah. All right, guys. If you have questions, I will be happy to answer. I answer all of my comments. If I don't, it's because maybe I want to talk about it during the show. So leave your questions, and I will see you guys in my next video. I will be live on Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time. It's just a time where we get together, we chit-chat, we talk about what we were crafting during the week while we listened to this case. All right, bye, everybody. Take care.